when I was reading, I felt almost there was an interesting sort of circle because it started, before you met with the professor, you talked about this martial art, the Dao Way, which is remarkable if you put in the time perspective, because that was in the 1960s and 70s, right? When the culture, especially in Berkeley, is like, it's like that's the civil rights movement. It's very lots of turmoil. And I have to say, you're very early. You must be one of the early sort of generation, from that time that recognize the balance, and what you said remarkably about, meditating during competition. So I think that already said it all in a way. But then you kind of, went to meet all those masters. And then the last one you met, the sage you called, if I recall correctly, he was heavily influenced by some Japanese masters, right? So he was talking about the two Zen masters.
Yes, he was influenced. He combined the work of Shoma Morita, a psychiatrist. Morita had some very useful sayings. For example, he used to observe when running up a hill, it's okay to give up, to quit as many times as you want, as long as your feet keep moving. And that was his approach. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Not all the complications. So also, Morita had some very good advice for people, which is to focus first, accept your thoughts and feelings, positive or negative, as natural to you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So by accepting them, it means as you would in meditation, notice them, but you don't have to change them, fix them, obey them. Mm-hmm. Just notice, this is what's arising. These are the thoughts I'm having. And so accept those as natural to you. The second thing is, what is your game? What is your goal? What is your aim? What is your purpose? What do you want to do? And then third, do what needs to be done in line with your purpose, whether or not you're feeling motivated or somebody, or inspired. Somebody came up to me once after a seminar and said, Dan, I feel so inspired. I said, don't worry, it'll pass. Because inspiration comes and goes, and motivation waxes and wanes. And so we need to rely on something more, a kind of inner strength, but based on our purpose. Not a holy book, not an authority figure telling you what to do, but what is within you? What are you moved toward? And that requires some self-knowledge. Yeah. And so, 3 of my books are focused on self-knowledge, because if we don't know ourselves, we end up making the right decision for the wrong person, the one we thought we were. And how many of us have had that experience in a relationship or in a work, and we realize that's not who I am? So by knowing ourselves, it really is about 3 things. What are my talents? What am I good at? What am I not good at? 2, what are my interests? What am I actually interested in, rather than confusing that with what I think or someone else thinks I should do or should be. But what am I actually interested in? And third, what are my values? And the more we know that, talents, values, and interests, the wiser decisions we make for our own lives.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, because I think it's so excellent when you're talking about keep running up the hill, your legs stopping, because the reason I felt it was back to a circle is that it kind of back to action as how you started, like when you were competing, we were in the air, when you were jumping. And almost like when I was reading the 4, it feels like you went through your sort of hero's journey, right? So you started from the village, you went to a long journey up the mountains, deep in the valley. Right. And then you come back to something very simple again, although it's very simple, but it's different. It's a very profound simplicity you mentioned. And I want to go back to also, you talked about the knowing ourselves. I think everybody, listening to this book or on, a journey of self-discovery would admit that's probably the most challenging task. It's the hardest thing to do. You say 3 things. It's your talent, your interest, and your values. But I think most people would struggle to see my interest change. If my interest is here and now, how does my interest define me? I hear lots of that questions, like, because I also, even for talent, people would think, okay, well, Dan, you're lucky you were discovered, in middle school that you're into gymnastics and trampoline, but, many of us probably are not as lucky that, I don't know what my, I'm not a world champion in anything. That's probably true for most common day people, right? So yeah, like, yes, I don't know what my talent is, especially for a lot of women. I think I see a lot of that. For example, if you're a woman that ended up become a homemaker. Okay, so what's my talent? Cooking, right? So like, you feel there's a loss of that. And then I think values, people change as well. Sometimes it would feel like, yeah, I believe in certain things in certain period of my age, and then I shift. So maybe give us some advice, like how do we use this kind of three pathways on the journey of self-discovery?
Very good question. Well, we do evolve over time, and our interests may change somewhat. Our values may change somewhat in response to growth and experience. And our talents, we may discover talents we didn't know we had because we weren't exposed to something. I hate to differentiate myself from other people because it's not like, oh, I was a world champion so I can accomplish such and such. You don't need to be a world champion. The experience of competition, whether you're playing a card game, it's all the same. Whether it's beginning level, intermediate, you don't have to be a great athlete. That just happened to be my background. So yes, these things do evolve over time, but they don't change day to day so much. So it's really about right now, what are my interests, values, and talents? Right now. And then tomorrow or the next day or the next year, we might re-examine that and say, have I changed? What are my values now? But it seems to me it takes about 10 years after our education, our formal education, whatever level we go to, out in the world, we have to test what are my values. Will I choose this or that? Someone once said that character is revealed by choices under pressure. That's what reveals our character. What choices will we make? And so that reveals to us our values. Just sitting down and contemplating and saying, okay, what are my values? And listing them out may or may not be that useful, but it takes time. And we need to be patient. Meanwhile, we handle what's in front of us. We build a foundation for our lives. And we encourage our children to do the same, expose them to a lot of different experiences to see they can discover what their talents are and what their values and interests are. But yes, I discovered an old trampoline when I was 11 years old. But how could I possibly have known that liking jumping up and down on a trampoline was going to lead to college scholarship and then a career and then coaching and everything that followed? I couldn't have known that. But I just followed, I trusted myself. And that's one of the, let's say, memes that I convey to people, which is we cannot lose our way. Wherever we step, the path appears. But that involves a level of self-trust. We're not here to become somebody else. Everybody else is already taken, right? So we have to become ourselves. But asking that, who am I? My sense is who I am is what I do. It's more effective to ask, what do I do, rather than who am I? Because that's an endless question. It's like a rabbit hole. We go down and round and round. Who am I? Who am I? But what do I do? And there are people my age who retire and they get depressed because they go, oh, well, I was a police officer and now I've stopped that. I don't even know who I am anymore. Because they identify with being a police officer or a physician or an engineer or a homemaker or a married person. And then all that changes. They have a divorce. Who am I now? Instead, I think we should look at life like a practice. I practice medicine. I practice teaching. I practice athletics. And then when we can change, I no longer practice that. I'll practice something else. We don't lose our sense of identity. I hope that makes sense.